The wind cut through the empty street like broken glass, sharp and merciless. Ramona Washington pressed her thin body against the brick wall of the shuttered community center, trying to find shelter from the worst of it. Her fingers had gone numb an hour ago, and she could no longer feel her toes inside her worn sneakers. The temperature had dropped to 15 degrees, and the weather forecast promised it would fall even lower before dawn. She had been walking for 3 hours trying to reach the shelter on Morgan Street, but it was full by the time she arrived. The next closest shelter was another 2 miles away, and Ramona knew she would not make it. Her body was already shutting down, conserving what little warmth remained. She had wrapped her arms around herself, clutching the faded navy coat tighter. It was the last thing her mother had given her before cancer took her away 13 years ago. The fabric was worn so thin in places that light showed through, but it was all she had. Ramona closed her eyes and thought about her mother. Geneva Washington had been a proud woman, a nurse who worked double shifts to keep food on the table after Ramona's father left. She had sewn this coat herself, staying up late after her hospital shifts, determined that her daughter would have something warm for the winter. Geneva had only worn it once before the diagnosis came, before everything fell apart. After her mother died, Ramona's life had unraveled thread by thread. She lost her apartment, then her job, then her hope. For 13 years she had been surviving on the edges, working temporary positions, staying in shelters, sometimes sleeping in her car until it was repossessed. She had applied for better jobs, for apartments, for anything that might lift her up, but every door closed in her face. No permanent address. No references. No hope. A sound broke through her thoughts. Crying. Soft, desperate crying. Ramona forced her eyes open and turned her head. 20 feet away, sitting on the concrete steps of the closed community center, was a girl. She looked about 12 or 13, wearing what must have been expensive clothes, a cream-colored dress, thin leggings, and delicate shoes meant for indoor wear. Her long dark hair whipped around her face in the wind. She had no coat. No jacket. Nothing. The girl was shaking so hard that Ramona could see it from where she stood. Her lips had turned blue, and her skin looked gray in the streetlight. She was dying. Ramona knew hypothermia when she saw it. She had seen it in the shelters, in the people who did not make it through the winter. Ramona's feet moved before her mind could catch up. She stumbled forward, each step taking enormous effort. Her body screamed at her to stop, to preserve her own warmth, to survive. But Geneva Washington had raised her daughter to be different. Geneva had taught her that kindness mattered more than survival, that love was worth dying for. "Hey," Ramona said softly, kneeling beside the girl. "Hey, sweetheart. Are you okay?" The girl looked up and Ramona saw terror in her eyes. Real bone-deep terror. "I'm fine," the girl whispered through chattering teeth. "Just waiting for my dad. He'll be here soon." "How long have you been waiting?" "I don't know. An hour. Maybe 2. Ramona reached out and touched the girl's hand. It was ice. Literally ice cold, the skin waxy and pale. This child would not survive another 30 minutes in this cold. "What's your name?" Ramona asked. "Isabella." "I'm Ramona. Isabella, listen to me. You're in danger. Your body temperature is dropping too fast." "I'm fine," Isabella insisted, but her words slurred together. She was already losing coherence. "You're turning blue and your lips are bleeding," Ramona said. Her hands moved to the buttons of her coat before she could think about what she was doing. Before she could think about Geneva, about the cold, about dying. "What are you doing?" Isabella asked, confusion cutting through the cold fog in her mind. Ramona did not answer. She pulled off the only coat she owned, the last piece of her mother she had left, and draped it over Isabella's shoulders. The girl was so small that the coat swallowed her completely. Ramona wrapped it around her carefully, buttoning it all the way up, pulling the collar high around Isabella's neck. The cold hit Ramona immediately. Without the coat, the wind found every part of her. Her thin sweater and worn jeans provided almost no protection. She felt her body temperature plummet, felt the dangerous sleepiness that came with freezing. But Isabella's color was already improving. The coat still held Ramona's body heat, and it was warming the girl. "I can't take this," Isabella said, suddenly more alert. "You need it? You'll freeze." "I'll be fine," Ramona lied. "I'm heading inside soon. There's a shelter just a few blocks away." That was a lie too. The shelter was miles away and Ramona knew she would not make it. But this child would live. That mattered more. "Please," Isabella said, tears streaming down her face now. "Please take it back." "Keep it," Ramona said firmly. "Your dad will be here soon. You stay right here wrapped up tight. Don't move." Keep your hands inside the coat. Don't take it off no matter what. You hear me? Isabella nodded, fresh tears freezing on her cheeks. What's your father's name? I can call him for you. Vincent Bradford. But I don't have a phone anymore. I dropped it and it broke. Ramona did not have a phone either. She had sold hers months ago to buy food. But she could walk to the gas station 3 blocks away and ask to use their phone. I'll call him, Ramona said. What's his number? Isabella recited the number, and Ramona repeated it several times until she had it memorized. Then she stood up, her legs trembling with cold and exhaustion. Don't move, she said again. Stay here. Your father will come. What about you? Isabella asked. Where will you go? I'll be fine, Ramona said. The lie came easier this time, smooth as her mother's voice in her memory. I'll be just fine. She turned and walked away before Isabella could protest again. Each step was harder than the last. The cold was inside her now, settling into her bones, slowing her heart. She made it 1 block, then 2. By the 3rd block, her vision was starting to blur. The gas station appeared ahead of her like a mirage, bright lights and warmth. She stumbled through the door and the clerk looked up in alarm. Ma'am, are you okay? Need to use your phone, Ramona managed. Emergency. Girl freezing. Need to call her father. The clerk grabbed the phone and dialed as Ramona gave him the number. The phone rang 3 times before a man answered. Vincent Bradford. Mr. Bradford, this is Eddie's gas station on 5th and Willow. There's a woman here who says your daughter is freezing outside the community center. Is that right? There was a pause. Then, Isabella? Is she okay? Where is she? She says the girl's at the community center, a few blocks from here. I'm 15 minutes away. Tell that woman to stay there. I'm coming right now. But Ramona was already walking toward the door. She had done what she needed to do. Isabella would be saved. That was enough. Ma'am, wait, the clerk called after her. The man wants to talk to you. Ramona shook her head and pushed back out into the cold. She did not want thanks. She did not want money. She wanted to disappear into the night, to not exist as a burden on anyone else. That was what 13 years of poverty had taught her. To not take up space, to not ask for anything, to not matter. She walked until her legs gave out. She did not know how much time passed. Eventually, she found herself sitting against a dumpster behind a closed restaurant, her back against the cold metal. The shaking had stopped. That was bad, she knew. When you stopped shivering, when the cold felt warm, that meant the end was close. Ramona closed her eyes and thought about her mother. She thought about Isabella, wrapped in Geneva's coat, safe and warm. She thought about kindness, about love, about the choices we make in the darkness. She had chosen love. Even if it cost her everything. She had chosen right. Meanwhile, across the city, Vincent Bradford was driving like a man possessed, his heart hammering in his chest. His phone call with Isabella had been brief and terrifying. She had told him about the woman, about the coat, about being warm now. She had told him to hurry, that the woman had looked sick, that she had walked away without even giving her name. Vincent found Isabella exactly where Ramona had left her, wrapped in a stranger's coat, shivering but alive. He scooped his daughter into his arms and carried her to his car, cranking the heat as high as it would go. Dad, Isabella said through chattering teeth. We have to find her. The woman who gave me her coat. She saved my life. We will, Vincent promised. We'll find her. I promise you that. But as he drove his daughter to the emergency room, Vincent looked out at the freezing city and wondered how anyone could survive a night like this without a coat. He wondered if the woman was still alive. He wondered if he would ever get the chance to thank her. The coat lay in the passenger seat beside Isabella, still warm from a stranger's body, still smelling faintly of lavender and survival. Vincent picked it up carefully, this thin, worn piece of fabric that had saved his daughter's life. The buttons were mismatched. The lining was torn in places. This coat was old, probably older than Isabella herself. Someone had given up everything to save his daughter. Vincent held the coat against his chest and made a silent vow. He would find this woman. No matter how long it took, no matter where she was hiding. He would find her and he would repay this debt. He had no idea how drastically this search would change his life. How this one act of kindness from a stranger would transform everything he thought he knew about love, about family, about what really mattered in this world. The freezing night had changed 2 lives forever. One was just beginning to understand what that meant. Have you ever wondered what you would do if a stranger saved someone you loved? Would you search for them or let them disappear into the night? Subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is just beginning, and you will not believe what happens next. Vincent Bradford had built his fortune through persistence. When other investors walked away from failing companies, he stayed. When problems seemed impossible, he found solutions. When everyone said it could not be done, he proved them wrong. That same determination now drove him to find the woman who had saved his daughter. Isabella spent 3 days in the hospital recovering from hypothermia. The doctors said she had been minutes away from permanent damage, possibly death. The coat had saved her life by maintaining just enough warmth to keep her core temperature from dropping to lethal levels. Every time Vincent looked at that worn navy coat hanging in his daughter's hospital room, he felt his throat tighten. "Tell me again what she looked like," he said to Isabella on the second day. Isabella closed her eyes, remembering. Thin. Really thin, like she had not eaten in a long time. She had short black hair and brown skin. Her face was... Isabella paused, searching for words. Kind. Even though she looked so tired and sick, her face was kind. She had these deep lines around her eyes, but when she smiled at me, they made her look beautiful. How old? I don't know. Maybe 40? She moved like she was older, like everything hurt. What was she wearing besides the coat? A gray sweater with holes in it. Jeans that were too big. Old sneakers. Dad, she gave me everything she had. That coat was all she owned, and she just gave it to me without thinking twice. Vincent had already hired 3 private investigators. He had posted a reward of $100,000 for information leading to the woman's identity. He had put up signs all over the neighborhood where Isabella had been stranded. He had contacted every shelter, every church, every community organization in the city. Nothing. The woman had vanished like smoke. On the 4th day, Vincent stood at the community center where Isabella had waited for him. It had been his fault she was there in the first place. He had been late picking her up from her evening art class, stuck in a meeting that ran long. Isabella had waited inside until the building closed at 7, then waited outside because her phone had broken that morning and she had no way to call him. By the time he arrived, she had been sitting in the freezing cold for 2 hours. If not for that stranger, Vincent would have arrived to find his daughter dead. The guilt ate at him. So did the gratitude. So did the desperate need to find this woman and thank her properly, to repay her, to make sure she never spent another night freezing on the streets. Mr. Bradford? Vincent turned to find a woman in her 60s approaching him. She wore a red volunteer vest over her coat and carried a clipboard. "I'm Vincent Bradford," he confirmed. "I'm Dorothy Hughes. I run the community center. I heard you've been looking for information about a homeless woman who helped your daughter. Do you know her?" Vincent asked, hope sparking in his chest. "I might. Can you come inside? I have some photos from our meal program. Maybe your daughter could identify her." Inside the community center, Dorothy spread out dozens of photos on a table. They showed people lined up for meals, sitting at tables, talking in groups. Vincent studied each face carefully. "There," Dorothy said, pointing to a photo from 3 weeks ago. "That's her, isn't it?" Vincent stared at the woman in the photo. She sat alone at a table, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, her eyes distant. She wore the same navy coat Isabella had described. Even in the photo, Vincent could see how thin she was, how exhausted. But Dorothy was right about something else too. Despite everything, her face held a quiet dignity. "That's her," Vincent whispered. "Who is she?" "Her name is Ramona Washington. She came here for meals sometimes, but not regularly. Very private woman. Never asked for help beyond a warm meal." "Do you know where she lives?" Dorothy shook her head. "She never told anyone. Some of our guests are like that. They don't want to be found. They don't want to be a burden." "She's not a burden," Vincent said sharply. "She saved my daughter's life. I need to find her." "I understand. But Mr. Bradford, you need to understand something too. Women like Ramona, they've learned to be invisible. If she doesn't want to be found, you might never find her." "I have to try." Dorothy studied him for a long moment. "I'll tell you what I can. Ramona was always kind to the other guests here. She would share her food if someone else looked hungry. She would help clean up after meals without being asked. One time, I saw her give her gloves to a man whose hands were frostbitten. She just gave them away and walked out into the cold without them." "That sounds like her," Vincent said quietly. "She worked though. She wasn't unemployed. She mentioned having a night cleaning job somewhere downtown. I don't know where." "Night cleaning job. Downtown." It was not much, but it was something. Vincent thanked Dorothy and left. That evening, he called his head of security. "I need you to check every commercial building in the downtown area," Vincent said. "Find out which ones use night cleaning crews. Get me a list of all the cleaning companies. That could be hundreds of buildings, sir. Then we check hundreds of buildings. It took 2 weeks to compile the list. Another week to start checking the buildings. Vincent went personally to each one, showing Ramona's photo from Dorothy's community center to security guards and building managers. Most had never seen her. A few thought she looked familiar but were not sure. One security guard at a building on Market Street said he thought she worked for Diamond Cleaning Services. But when Vincent contacted the company, they claimed to have no employee matching Ramona's description. Vincent kept searching. Meanwhile, across the city, Ramona was dying by inches. Without her coat, she could not survive the streets. She had managed to find shelter in an abandoned warehouse for a few nights, huddling in a corner with newspapers for warmth. But the police had cleared out the building, forcing everyone to leave. She had spent one night at a shelter, packed in with 50 other women, unable to sleep because of the noise and the fear. The cold had gotten into her lungs. She coughed constantly now, a wet, rattling cough that left her gasping. She knew she had pneumonia. She knew it was getting worse. But she had no health insurance, no money for a doctor, no way to get help without becoming a burden on the system. She kept working her night cleaning job at the Bradford Financial Building downtown, even though every shift felt like swimming through concrete. She worked from 11 at night until 5 in the morning, emptying trash cans, mopping floors, cleaning bathrooms in the city's third tallest skyscraper. The job paid minimum wage and cash under the table because she had no permanent address. The company that employed her specialized in hiring people no one else would touch. Ramona worked in Vincent Bradford's building and had no idea he was the man she had saved Isabella for. She had never met him, never seen his photo. She cleaned the executive offices on the 40th floor while he worked during the day. Their lives were separated by economics and time, existing in the same physical space but never intersecting. Until the night Vincent decided to work late. He often stayed late at the office, reviewing reports and planning strategies. But tonight he was restless, unable to focus. 3 weeks had passed since Isabella's near-death experience. 3 weeks of searching. 3 weeks of finding nothing. Isabella had recovered fully, but she talked about Ramona constantly. She had kept the coat, sleeping with it at night, refusing to let Vincent donate it to a shelter. It belongs to her, Isabella insisted. We have to give it back. We will, Vincent promised. As soon as we find her. At midnight, Vincent stood at his office window, looking down at the glittering city below. Somewhere down there, Ramona Washington was trying to survive. Somewhere she was cold and hungry and alone. And Vincent could not find her. The sound of a vacuum cleaner interrupted his thoughts. Vincent turned and saw the office door was open. A cleaning cart sat in the hallway but he could not see the person pushing it. Vincent walked to the door and looked out. A woman in a gray uniform was vacuuming the conference room across the hall. She was thin, moving slowly as if every motion required enormous effort. Her short black hair was streaked with gray, and even from this distance, Vincent could hear her coughing. Something about her looked familiar. Vincent walked closer. The woman was too focused on her work to notice him. She finished vacuuming and moved to empty the trash cans. As she bent over to pull out a bag, she swayed slightly, catching herself on the desk. "Are you okay?" Vincent asked. The woman spun around, startled. Their eyes met. Vincent felt the air leave his lungs. It was her. The woman from the community center photo. The woman who had saved Isabella. She was here, in his building, working as a janitor while he searched the entire city for her. "Ramona," he said. She stared at him, confusion crossing her face. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm Vincent Bradford. My daughter is Isabella. You saved her life 3 weeks ago." The color drained from Ramona's face. She took a step backward, her hand gripping the desk for support. "I need to get back to work," she said quietly. "Wait," Vincent said, moving toward her. "Please wait. I've been looking everywhere for you." "I don't want anything from you," Ramona said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I just want to do my job. You gave my daughter your coat. You saved her life. Please let me thank you. Let me help you." "I don't need help." Ramona's pride flared for just a moment before dissolving into another coughing fit. This one was so severe that she doubled over, gasping for air. Vincent moved to support her, but she waved him off. When the coughing finally stopped, she straightened up slowly, her face gray with exhaustion. "You're sick," Vincent said. "You need to see a doctor." "I'm fine." "You have pneumonia. You could die." "People die every day," Ramona said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "I'm nobody special. You're the woman who saved my daughter," Vincent said firmly. That makes you very special to me. Ramona looked at him for a long moment. Vincent saw the walls around her, the defenses built from years of disappointment and abandonment. He saw a woman who had learned not to hope, not to trust, not to accept help because help always came with strings attached. Mr. Bradford, she said carefully, I appreciate that you want to thank me. But I don't need thanks. I did what anyone would do. Most people would not have given away their only coat. Then most people are smarter than me. Vincent felt his frustration growing, but he pushed it down. This woman needed help desperately, but she had been trained by life to refuse it. He needed to find a different approach. Where's your coat now? Ramona asked suddenly. Isabella has it. She wanted me to give it back to you. She's been keeping it safe. Something flickered in Ramona's eyes. Pain maybe. Or loss. Tell her she can keep it, Ramona said. It looks better on her anyway. She won't accept that. And neither will I. Vincent pulled out his phone. Please give me your number. I need to return your coat, and I need to talk to you about something important. I don't have a phone. Then give me your address. I don't have a permanent address. Vincent felt his heart break a little. Where do you sleep? Different places. Ramona's voice was defensive now. Look, Mr. Bradford, I appreciate the concern, but I'm fine. I have a job. I have places to stay. I'm managing. You're dying, Vincent said bluntly. You have pneumonia, you're severely underweight, and you're working yourself into the ground. That's not managing. That's barely surviving. Survival is enough. It's not enough, Vincent said. Not for the woman who saved my daughter. Not for someone as kind as you. Ramona looked away, and Vincent saw tears gathering in her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. I need to finish my shift, she said. I'm not letting you leave this building tonight, Vincent said. Not until we figure this out. You can't keep me here. Watch me. Vincent pulled out his phone and dialed. Emily, I need you to send a company car to the Bradford Financial Building immediately. And call Dr. Morrison. Tell him I'm bringing someone who needs urgent medical attention. Mr. Bradford, please, Ramona said. Her voice cracked. I can't afford a doctor. I can't afford any of this. You don't have to afford anything, Vincent said gently. I'm paying. And before you argue, remember that you gave my daughter your coat without hesitation. You didn't refuse. You didn't think about yourself. You just gave. Now it's my turn to give, and you're going to accept my help with the same grace you showed when you helped Isabella. Ramona opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. The fight drained out of her, replaced by exhaustion so profound that she swayed on her feet. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Vincent caught her as her legs buckled. She was so light in his arms, fragile as glass. He carried her to his office and settled her on the couch, wrapping his suit jacket around her shoulders. She did not protest. She just closed her eyes and let the warmth seep into her bones. When the car arrived 10 minutes later, Ramona was asleep. Vincent carried her down to the waiting vehicle and held her hand during the entire drive to the emergency room. He called Isabella from the car. Dad? What's wrong? I found her, Vincent said. I found Ramona. He heard Isabella's sharp intake of breath. Is she okay? She's sick. But she's going to be okay now. I promise you that. As the car pulled up to the hospital entrance, Vincent looked down at the sleeping woman in his arms. She had saved his daughter by giving away everything she owned. Now it was his turn to save her. And unlike Ramona, Vincent had the resources to do it properly. The freezing night 3 weeks ago had brought them together. Tonight would change everything that came after. Ramona woke to brightness. Pure, clean, almost painful brightness. For a moment, she could not remember where she was or how she had gotten there. Then the memories came flooding back. The office. Vincent Bradford. Collapsing. Being carried. She sat up quickly, then immediately regretted it as the room spun. A gentle hand pressed against her shoulder. Easy, a woman's voice said. You've been very sick. You need to rest. Ramona blinked until her vision cleared. She was in a hospital room, lying in a proper bed with clean white sheets. And 4 drip ran into her arm. A nurse in blue scrubs smiled at her from a chair beside the bed. Where am I? Ramona asked. Her voice was hoarse. Metropolitan Hospital. Mr. Bradford brought you in last night. You've been asleep for almost 12 hours. Last night? Ramona tried to process this. What time is it? 2 in the afternoon. You have pneumonia, dehydration, and malnutrition. The doctor wants to keep you here for at least 3 more days. I can't afford this. Mr. Bradford is handling all expenses. The nurse checked the 4-bag. He's been calling every hour to check on you. He and his daughter are outside right now. Would you like to see them? Before Ramona could answer, there was a knock at the door. Vincent appeared in the doorway, and beside him stood a young girl with long dark hair and bright eyes. Isabella. You're awake, Isabella said, her whole face lighting up. She rushed to the bedside before Vincent could stop her. Are you okay? They said you've been really sick. Ramona stared at the girl. This was the child she had saved, healthy and warm and alive. Seeing Isabella like this, seeing the life and energy in her, made everything Ramona had suffered afterward worth it. I'm okay, Ramona said softly. I'm glad to see you're doing well. I brought something. Isabella held out a carefully folded bundle. The navy coat. This belongs to you. Ramona's hands trembled as she took the coat. It had been cleaned and repaired. The torn lining was mended. The buttons had been replaced with matching ones. It looked better than it had in years, better than when her mother first made it. You fixed it, Ramona whispered. I wanted it to be perfect when I gave it back, Isabella said. This coat saved my life. I took really good care of it. Tears rolled down Ramona's cheeks before she could stop them. She pressed the coat against her face, breathing in the faint scent of lavender detergent. Her mother's coat. The last piece of Geneva she had left. Thank you, Ramona said. Thank you for keeping it safe. Vincent moved closer to the bed. In the daylight, Ramona could see him properly for the first time. He was in his early 40s, tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair just beginning to gray at the temples. He wore an expensive suit, but he had loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves. His eyes were kind, filled with concern. How are you feeling? He asked. Foolish, Ramona admitted. I'm sorry for collapsing in your office. I'm sorry for being a burden. You're not a burden, Vincent said firmly. You saved Isabella's life. That makes you family as far as I'm concerned, and family takes care of each other. I'm not family. I'm a stranger who made one good choice. One good choice that cost you everything, Vincent said. The doctors tell me you've been living on the streets for months. They say your pneumonia is severe because you've been sleeping outside in the cold. They say you're malnourished because you've been skipping meals to save money. Ramona looked away ashamed. All of that is because you gave your coat to my daughter, Vincent continued. You could have walked past her. You could have kept your coat and called for help. But you didn't. You gave her everything you had without hesitation. Why? Because she needed it more than I did. Most people would not see it that way. Then most people are broken, Ramona said quietly. My mother raised me to believe that love matters more than survival. That kindness is worth dying for. Vincent was quiet for a moment. Your mother sounds like she was a remarkable woman. She was. She made that coat for me before she died. It was the last thing I had of hers. And you gave it away to save a stranger's child. I gave it away to save a child, Ramona corrected. Whether she was a stranger or not did not matter. Isabella grabbed Ramona's hand. You're my hero. I told all my friends at school about you. I told them how you saved me, how you gave me your coat even though it was freezing. Everyone thinks you're amazing. I'm not amazing, Ramona said. I'm just someone who did the right thing. That's what makes you amazing, Vincent said. Most people know the right thing to do, but they don't do it because it costs too much. You paid the price without hesitation. The nurse cleared her throat. I hate to interrupt, but Ramona needs rest. The doctor will want to examine her again in an hour. Of course, Vincent said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. Ramona, I know you don't want to be a burden, and I respect that. But I also can't walk away knowing you're struggling. When you're released from the hospital, I want you to call me. I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? A job. A proper job with benefits and a living wage. And an apartment if you need one. I already have a job. Cleaning offices for minimum wage while you're sick and homeless? Vincent's voice was gentle but firm. That's not a job. That's exploitation. You deserve better. I don't have the skills for anything better. Yes, you do. Isabella needs a companion, someone to help her with homework and activities. Her mother died 2 years ago, and I've been trying to manage work and parenting on my own. It's not working. Isabella needs someone kind and patient, someone she can trust. Someone like you. Ramona looked at Isabella, who was nodding eagerly. I would love it if you worked for us, Isabella said. We could spend time together every day. You could help me with my art projects. And Dad would stop being so worried all the time. I don't know anything about being a companion or a tutor, Ramona said. But you know about being kind, Vincent said. That's the most important qualification. Everything else can be learned. Ramona wanted to say no. Every instinct told her to refuse, to not accept charity, to not become dependent on anyone else's goodness. But she thought about her mother's words. Love matters more than pride. Kindness is worth accepting as well as giving. What would the job involve? She asked carefully. You would live in one of my properties, a small but comfortable apartment in a safe neighborhood. You would spend weekdays with Isabella after school, helping with homework, taking her to activities, making sure she's safe and cared for. Weekends would be yours. The salary would be $60,000 a year plus health insurance. $60,000 a year. Ramona had never made more than $20,000 in her life. She could not comprehend that kind of money. That's too much, she said. It's not enough, Vincent countered. But it's a starting point. If you do well, we can discuss raises after 6 months. Why are you doing this? Because you saved my daughter, Vincent said simply. Because I have the resources to help you, and you have earned that help 1,000 times over. Because I believe people should be rewarded for their kindness, not punished for it. Ramona looked at the coat in her lap, thinking about her mother. What would Geneva say if she were here? She would say accept the help. She would say this man is offering you a chance to rebuild your life. She would say kindness flows both ways. Okay, Ramona said quietly. I'll accept your offer. Thank you. Vincent smiled, and Ramona saw genuine relief in his expression. Thank you. You're saving me as much as I'm helping you. Isabella needs someone like you in her life. When would I start? When you're healthy. Rest here, get strong, and when the doctors release you, I'll have the apartment ready. You can take a week to settle in before starting work. Over the next 3 days, Ramona remained in the hospital, receiving treatment for her pneumonia and malnutrition. Vincent and Isabella visited every day, bringing flowers and books and conversation. Ramona learned that Vincent's wife had died of cancer 2 years ago, the same disease that had taken her mother. She learned that Isabella loved art and hated math, that she was lonely at her private school, that she missed having a mother. Dad tries really hard, Isabella confided one afternoon when Vincent had stepped out to take a phone call. But he's always working. He always looks tired. I think he's sad, but he won't talk about it. Grief takes a long time to heal, Ramona said gently. Your father loved your mother very much. Did you love your mother? More than anything. Do you still miss her? Every single day. Isabella was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I'm glad Dad found you. I think maybe we all need each other. Ramona felt something shift in her chest. For 13 years she had been alone, surviving but not living. For 13 years she had built walls around her heart, afraid to hope, afraid to trust. But sitting here with this lonely girl who had lost her mother, Ramona felt those walls beginning to crack. Maybe Geneva had been right. Maybe kindness did lead somewhere. Maybe love was worth the risk. On the 4th day, the doctor released Ramona from the hospital. Vincent was waiting in the lobby with a car. He drove her across the city to a neighborhood Ramona had never seen before, a quiet street lined with trees and brick buildings. He parked in front of a 3-story building with a bright red door. This is it, Vincent said. Your new home. He led her up to the 2nd floor and opened the door to apartment 2B. Ramona stepped inside and stopped, unable to move, unable to breathe. The apartment was beautiful. A living room with large windows letting in afternoon sunlight. A small kitchen with new appliances and a table for 2. A bedroom with a real bed, a dresser and a closet. A bathroom with a clean shower and fluffy towels. It's furnished, Vincent said, but you can change anything you want. Make it yours. Ramona walked slowly through the space, touching the furniture, the walls, the windows. This was real. This was hers. She had a home. In the bedroom she found clothes hanging in the closet. Simple, practical clothes in bright colors. A red sweater. A blue dress. A green jacket. Everything in her size. Isabella picked most of those out, Vincent said from the doorway. She wanted you to have nice things. Ramona turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you were kind to us first, Vincent said. Because kindness should be repaid with kindness. Because you deserve this, Ramona. You deserve so much more than this, honestly, but it's a start. Ramona wiped her eyes. I don't know how to thank you. Just be happy, Vincent said. Just take care of Isabella and be happy. That's all the thanks I need. He handed her a key. Take a week to settle in. Rest. Get strong. I've stocked the refrigerator and pantry. If you need anything at all, call me. My number is programmed into that phone on the counter. Ramona looked at the phone sitting on the kitchen counter. Her own phone. Her own apartment. Her own chance at a real life. I'll do my best, she promised. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Vincent said. He smiled, and for the first time, Ramona saw beyond the expensive suit and the corporate success. She saw a man who had lost his wife, a father trying to raise a daughter alone, a person who understood loss and loneliness. Maybe they did need each other after all. The first night in her new apartment, Ramona could not sleep. Not because the bed was uncomfortable, it was the most comfortable bed she had slept in since before her mother died, but because she kept waiting for something to go wrong. She kept expecting someone to knock on the door and tell her there had been a mistake, that she had to leave, that she did not deserve this. But morning came and the apartment was still there. The bed, the kitchen, the sunlight streaming through the windows. All of it real. Ramona spent her first week doing simple things she had not been able to do in years. She took long hot showers. She cooked meals in her own kitchen. She walked to the nearby grocery store and bought fresh fruit. She sat by the window and watched people pass by on the street below, feeling safe for the first time in over a decade. The clothes Isabella had picked out fit perfectly. Ramona found herself reaching for the bright colors, the red sweater and blue dress, instead of the gray and black she had worn for years. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. With regular meals and rest, her face had filled out slightly. The hollow look in her eyes was fading. She looked alive. On the 7th day, Vincent called. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Better. Much better." Ramona paused. "Thank you for giving me this time. I needed it." "I know. Are you ready to start work tomorrow?" "Yes." Ramona felt nervous but also excited. "What time should I arrive?" "I'll pick you up at 2:30. Isabella gets out of school at 3 and I thought you could come with me to get her. That way you can see her routine." The next afternoon, Ramona wore the blue dress and her mother's coat, which she had carefully hung in her closet. She waited outside her building, and at exactly 2:30 Vincent's car pulled up. He got out to open the door for her, dressed more casually today in slacks and a sweater. "You look well," he said. "Much healthier." "I feel human again," Ramona admitted. They drove to Isabella's school, a private academy with manicured lawns and brick buildings. Vincent explained that Isabella had been struggling since her mother's death. Her grades had dropped. She had withdrawn from her friends. The school counselor was concerned. "She needs stability," Vincent said. "She needs someone who's consistently there, who cares about her. I do my best, but I travel for work. I have late meetings. I can't always be there when she needs me." "I'll be there," Ramona promised. Isabella burst out of the school at 3 o'clock, her backpack bouncing. When she saw Ramona in the car, her whole face lit up. "You're here," Isabella said, sliding into the back seat. "You're really here." "I'm here," Ramona confirmed. "Your dad thought I could help with homework today." "I have so much math homework," Isabella groaned. "I hate math." "We'll figure it out together," Ramona said. Vincent drove them to his house, a large modern home in an upscale neighborhood. Inside, everything was clean and expensive and somehow empty. Ramona could see the absent presence of Isabella's mother in the gaps. The photo frames with no photos, the empty vase that should hold flowers, the silence that should be filled with a woman's laughter. They settled at the kitchen table and Isabella pulled out her math workbook. Ramona had not done algebra in 20 years, but she worked through each problem with Isabella, breaking down the concepts into simpler pieces. Isabella was smart, Ramona realized. She just needed someone patient to explain things in a way that made sense. After homework, they made snacks together in the kitchen. Isabella talked about her art class, her friends, her favorite books. She talked about her mother too, small memories that slipped out naturally. Vincent worked in his home office but checked on them every hour, always finding an excuse to walk through the kitchen. By the time Ramona left at 7 o'clock, Isabella was begging her to come back tomorrow. "I will," Ramona promised. "Every day after school. We'll have plenty of time together." In the car on the way back to her apartment, Vincent said, "She's already happier. I can see it. She's a wonderful girl. You've done a great job raising her." "I've done an adequate job surviving," Vincent corrected. "There's a difference. You're the first person in 2 years who's made her smile like that." Over the next month, Ramona settled into her new life. She arrived at Vincent's house every afternoon at 3, helped Isabella with homework, took her to activities, made dinner with her. On Fridays, she took Isabella to her art class and waited in the car, watching through the window as the girl painted with pure joy on her face. Ramona also got to know Vincent better. He often joined them for dinner, and the three of them would sit at the kitchen table talking about their days. Vincent told stories about his work, the challenges of running a company, the stress of constant decisions. Ramona shared memories of her mother, of the years before poverty, of the life she used to have. One evening, 6 weeks after Ramona started working, Vincent asked her to stay after Isabella went to bed. "I wanted to talk to you about something," he said. They sat in the living room, the space feeling less empty than it had a month ago. Ramona had suggested adding some plants, and now green leaves softened the stark corners. "Is something wrong?" Ramona asked. "No. Everything is very right." Vincent leaned forward, his hands clasped. "Isabella is thriving. Her grades are improving. Her counselor says she's more engaged in class. She's making friends again. All of that is because of you. I'm just doing my job. You're doing more than a job. You're giving her what she needs most, consistent love and attention. You're giving her a maternal presence without trying to replace her mother." Ramona felt her throat tighten. "I care about her very much." "I know. She cares about you too. She told me yesterday that you're the best thing that's happened to our family since her mother died." "She said that?" "She did. Which brings me to what I wanted to discuss." Vincent stood and walked to the window. "I've been thinking a lot about our arrangement. The salary, the apartment, the job description. I want to offer you more." "More?" "A raise first of all. You're worth far more than 60,000. I want to increase your salary to 80,000 with full benefits including retirement." Ramona opened her mouth to protest, but Vincent raised his hand. "Please let me finish. I also want to offer you the option to move into our guest house if you want. It's empty, and it would be more convenient than driving from your apartment every day. You would have complete privacy, your own space, but you'd be closer if Isabella needed you." "That's too much." "It's not enough," Vincent said. "Ramona, you've changed our lives in 6 weeks. Isabella is happy again. I'm less worried. I'm sleeping better because I know she's in good hands. I can focus on work without constantly checking my phone. That's worth everything to me." "I don't know what to say." Vincent turned to face her. "Say yes. Accept my gratitude. Accept that you've earned this." Ramona thought about her mother's words again. Kindness flows both ways. "Accept help with the same grace you give it." "Yes," she said. "I accept." "Thank you." "Thank you," Vincent said. "For everything you do for us. For being exactly what we needed when we needed it most." That night, lying in bed in her apartment, Ramona thought about how drastically her life had changed in 2 months. From freezing on the streets to having a good job, a comfortable home, people who cared about her. She thought about the coat she had given to Isabella, how that single act of kindness had led to all of this. Maybe her mother had been right about everything. Maybe love did matter more than survival. Maybe kindness really was worth any cost. 3 weeks later, Ramona moved into the guest house. It was a small cottage behind Vincent's main house, with 1 bedroom, a living room, and a tiny kitchen. It was perfect. She could walk to the main house in 30 seconds, but she had complete privacy when she needed it. Isabella helped her move her few belongings, chattering excitedly about having Ramona so close. Vincent carried boxes and made sure everything was perfect. By evening, Ramona was settled in, her mother's coat hanging carefully in the closet, her bright clothes filling the small dresser. "Welcome home," Vincent said as they stood on the cottage's small porch, looking at the main house lit up in the evening darkness. "Thank you," Ramona said. "For all of this. For changing my life." "You changed ours first," Vincent reminded her. "This is just me catching up." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Vincent said, "Isabella wants to know if you'll have breakfast with us tomorrow. She's making pancakes." "I would love that." "Good. Because I think she's already planning to knock on your door at 7 in the morning." Ramona laughed, the sound surprising her. She had not laughed genuinely in so long that she had forgotten what it felt like. But here, standing on this porch, feeling safe and wanted and valued, laughter came easily. Over the following months, the three of them fell into an easy rhythm. Breakfast together on weekday mornings. School runs. Homework help. Dinners that sometimes lasted hours because they were all enjoying the conversation too much to leave the table. Weekend outings to museums and parks and movies. Ramona watched Vincent with growing understanding. He was lonely, she realized. Despite his success and wealth, he was profoundly lonely. He had thrown himself into work after his wife died, using business to avoid dealing with grief. But now, with Ramona handling Isabella's care, he had space to breathe. He started coming home earlier. He took weekends off. He smiled more. Isabella bloomed under the consistent attention. Her grades improved to honor roll. She joined the art club at school and started talking about becoming an artist. She made friends and had sleepovers. She laughed constantly, filling the once silent house with noise and life. And Ramona herself transformed. With regular meals and medical care, she gained healthy weight. Her hair grew longer. The lines of pain and exhaustion faded from her face. She took online courses to improve her skills. She read books from Vincent's extensive library. She discovered parts of herself she thought had died years ago. One evening, 4 months after moving into the guest house, Ramona stood in front of her mirror wearing a red dress Isabella had insisted she buy. They were going to a school art show featuring Isabella's work. Ramona barely recognized the woman looking back at her. This woman looked healthy, happy, alive. There was a knock on her door. Vincent stood outside, dressed in a suit, holding a small box. "I have something for you," he said. Inside the box was a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a coat. "Isabella designed it," Vincent said. "She wanted you to have something to remember how we met. How you saved her life." Ramona's hands trembled as she took the necklace out. "It's beautiful. May I?" Vincent took the necklace and moved behind her to clasp it around her neck. His fingers brushed against her skin, and Ramona felt something shift between them, something that had been growing quietly for months. "There," Vincent said softly. He met her eyes in the mirror. "Perfect." They stood like that for a moment, his hands still resting lightly on her shoulders, both of them aware that something had changed, that they were standing at the edge of something new and frightening and possible. "We should go," Ramona said quietly. "Isabella will be waiting." "Yes," Vincent agreed, but neither of them moved. Finally, Ramona stepped forward, breaking the spell. They walked to the car in silence, but it was a different kind of silence now. Charged. Full of unspoken possibilities. At the art show, Isabella's paintings were displayed proudly. There were landscapes and still lives and portraits. But the centerpiece was a large painting of a woman in a navy coat, standing in the snow, her arms outstretched. The title card read, "The Coat Giver." "I painted you," Isabella said to Ramona. "The way I remember you that night. Like an angel." Ramona stood in front of the painting, tears streaming down her face. This was how Isabella saw her. Not as a homeless woman. Not as someone to be pitied. But as a hero. As someone worth remembering, worth honoring. Vincent stood beside her, his hand finding hers. "She's right, you know. That's exactly what you were that night. An angel." Ramona squeezed his hand, unable to speak. The three of them stood together in front of the painting, a makeshift family built from tragedy and kindness, holding onto each other in the warm light of the gallery. Outside, snow had started to fall, soft and gentle, nothing like the brutal cold of that night months ago. But Ramona was not cold anymore. She was warm and safe and loved. Her mother would have been so proud. Before we continue to the next chapter, I have to ask, what would you do if you could change someone's entire life with one simple choice? Would you have the courage to give everything you had to save a stranger? If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps these stories of kindness and hope reach more people who need them. Let's spread more love in this world together. Winter gave way to spring, and with it came changes that none of them had anticipated. The art show had been a turning point. After that night, standing together in front of Isabella's painting, something had shifted in their relationship. They were no longer just employer and employee or even just friends. They had become something deeper, something none of them had words for yet. Ramona noticed the changes first. Vincent lingered at breakfast, asking about her night, her dreams, her plans for the day. He found excuses to stop by the guest house, bringing her books he thought she would enjoy, asking her opinion on business decisions. His eyes followed her when she moved through rooms, not with possession but with wonder, as if he could not quite believe she was real. Isabella noticed too. "Dad smiles all the time now," she told Ramona one afternoon while they made cookies together. "He used to only smile when he had to for business meetings and stuff. But now he smiles because he's happy." "That's good," Ramona said carefully. "It's because of you," Isabella said matter-of-factly. She was 12 now, but sometimes she seemed much older, wise beyond her years. "He likes you. Like really likes you." Ramona felt her cheeks warm. "Your father and I are friends. Friends don't look at each other the way you two do." Isabella rolled out cookie dough with determination. "Mom used to say that love shows in small actions, not big declarations. Dad brings you coffee every morning exactly how you like it. You make his favorite meals without him asking. Those are love actions." Isabella? I'm just saying if you guys wanted to date or something I would be okay with it. More than okay actually. I think it would be great. Ramona set down her own rolling pin. Your mother hasn't even been gone 3 years yet. Don't you think it's too soon? Isabella was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully. Mom told me something before she died. She made me promise not to tell Dad until the right time. She said that if she didn't make it, she wanted Dad to find love again. She said he was too good to be alone, that he had too much love to give. She made me promise that when he found someone good, I would tell him it was okay. Ramona felt tears prick her eyes. She said that? Yeah. She loved Dad so much that she wanted him to be happy even after she was gone. That's real love, right? Wanting the other person to be happy even if you're not there. Yes, Ramona whispered. That's real love. So if Dad likes you and you like Dad and I like both of you, then what's the problem? Isabella's logic was simple and direct. You make each other happy. Isn't that what matters? That conversation stayed with Ramona for days. She found herself watching Vincent differently, seeing him not just as her employer or friend, but as a man. A good man who had suffered and survived. A man who carried his grief with dignity, who loved his daughter fiercely, who had shown Ramona more kindness than anyone since her mother died. She thought about her own feelings, which had been growing quietly for months. The way her heart jumped when she heard his car in the driveway. The way she listened for his footsteps, his voice. The way she had started dressing more carefully, wearing the bright colors Isabella had picked out, wanting to look nice for him even though she told herself it did not matter. Love was love. Ramona had not let herself feel love in so long that she had almost forgotten what it was like. But here it was, growing in her chest like spring flowers pushing through frozen ground, impossible to deny or ignore. One Saturday morning in April, Vincent knocked on her door holding 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might want to take a walk, he said. It's beautiful out. They walked through the neighborhood, past blooming trees and gardens coming back to life. The air smelled fresh and new, full of possibility. They did not talk much at first, just enjoyed the morning and each other's company. Finally Vincent said, Isabella told me about your conversation. About her mother's wishes. Ramona felt her stomach tighten. I hope that was okay. She wanted to share it. It was okay. Vincent stopped walking and turned to face her. Ramona, I need to be honest with you about something. What? I have feelings for you. Feelings that go beyond friendship or gratitude. I've been trying to ignore them, trying to convince myself they're not real or that it's too soon or that I'm being foolish. But I can't ignore them anymore. Ramona's heart was hammering. Vincent, I know this is complicated. You work for me. You live on my property. There's a power imbalance. I know all the reasons this is a bad idea. But I also know that I haven't felt this way about anyone since my wife died. You make me want to be better. You make me want to take risks again, to open my heart, to believe in new beginnings. I feel the same way, Ramona admitted. The words came out in a rush, terrifying and liberating. I tried not to. I tried to keep things professional. But I can't help it. When I'm with you, I feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years. You and Isabella have given me more than a job or a home. You've given me a reason to hope again. Vincent stepped closer, his hand reaching up to touch her face. Then let's stop fighting it. Let's see where this goes. We can take it slow, we can be careful, but let's at least try. What if it doesn't work out? What if we try and fail and then everything is ruined? What if we don't try and spend the rest of our lives wondering what might have been? Vincent countered. I've learned something from losing my wife. Life is short. Love is rare. When you find it, you don't let it go because you're afraid. You hold on to it with everything you have. Ramona thought about her mother, about the coat, about the freezing night that had brought them all together. She thought about kindness and courage and taking chances on love. Okay, she said. Let's try. Vincent smiled, the kind of smile that lit up his whole face. Really? Really? He kissed her then, soft and gentle, a first kiss full of promise and hope. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling like teenagers. Isabella is going to be insufferable, Ramona said. She's been pushing us together for months. She can be the one to tell everyone she was right all along, Vincent said. I don't care. I'm just happy. They walked back to the house holding hands, both of them feeling like they were floating. Isabella was waiting on the front porch, and when she saw them holding hands, she jumped up and cheered. Finally, she yelled. I thought you guys would never figure it out. Vincent and Ramona looked at each other and laughed. Their daughter, because that was what Isabella was becoming to Ramona, had been wiser than both of them all along. Over the following weeks, they navigated their new relationship carefully. Vincent insisted that Ramona keep her job and salary, that nothing professional would change. They went on proper dates to restaurants and movies and concerts. They took walks in the evening after Isabella went to bed, talking for hours about everything and nothing. Ramona met Vincent's friends, professional colleagues who were initially surprised that he was dating his daughter's companion but quickly warmed to her when they saw how happy Vincent was. Ramona introduced Vincent to Dorothy from the community center, who cried tears of joy when she saw how well Ramona was doing. "I knew that girl who gave her coat to Isabella was special," Dorothy said, hugging Ramona tight. "I'm so glad you found your way home." Oh, that was what this had become. Not just the guest house or Vincent's house, but the entire life they were building together. Ramona felt roots growing deep into this new soil, felt herself becoming permanent in a way she never thought possible. They told Isabella everything, made sure she was comfortable with the relationship, checked in with her constantly. But Isabella was thrilled. She started calling Ramona by name instead of Miss Washington, a small shift that felt enormous. She asked Ramona to come to parent-teacher conferences and school events. She introduced Ramona to her friends as "my dad's girlfriend," saying it with obvious pride. One Sunday in May, the three of them had a picnic in the backyard. The weather was perfect, warm but not hot, with a gentle breeze. They spread out a blanket under a tree and ate sandwiches and fruit, talking and laughing and enjoying being together. "I have something to say," Isabella announced suddenly. She sat up straight, looking nervous but determined. "I've been thinking about this for a while, and I want to tell you both." "What is it, sweetheart?" Vincent asked. "I think we should be a real family. Like officially." Isabella looked at Ramona. "I know you're not my mom. I know you can't replace her. But you're important to me. You're someone I love and trust. And I want you to know that if you and Dad got married someday, I would be really happy about it." Ramona felt tears spring to her eyes. "Oh, Isabella. I'm not saying you have to get married tomorrow or anything," Isabella added quickly. "I just wanted you to know that I wouldn't be upset or feel like you were trying to take Mom's place. You have your own place in my heart and Mom has hers, and there's room for both." Vincent pulled Isabella into a hug, his own eyes wet. "That's very mature of you, honey. Thank you for telling us. So you guys will think about it? Getting married someday?" Vincent looked at Ramona over Isabella's head, and Ramona saw the question in his eyes. She nodded slightly and Vincent's face broke into a huge smile. "We'll definitely think about it," Vincent said. "But first we need more time to just be together. To build our relationship. To make sure we're doing this right." "But you do love her, right?" Isabella pressed. "You're not just dating for fun?" "I love her very much," Vincent said, looking directly at Ramona. "More than I thought I could love anyone again." "And you love Dad?" Isabella asked Ramona. "Yes," Ramona said. "I love your father very much." "And you both love me?" "More than anything in the world," they said together, and Isabella laughed, satisfied. They spent the rest of the afternoon in the sunshine, three people who had found each other through tragedy and kindness, building something new and precious and worth protecting. Ramona wore the necklace Vincent had given her, the tiny coat pendant catching the light. She touched it sometimes, remembering that frozen night, grateful for the path that had brought her here. That evening, after Isabella went to bed, Vincent and Ramona sat on the porch of the guest house, watching the stars come out. "Do you ever think about that night?" Vincent asked. "Every day," Ramona said. "Sometimes I can't believe it was real. That I made that choice, that you found me, that all of this happened. I think about the woman who walked away into the freezing cold," Vincent said. "The woman who was dying and didn't care because she had saved a child. When I think about how close I came to losing you before I even met you, it terrifies me. But you did meet me. And I didn't die. And now we're here." "Now we're here," Vincent repeated. He took her hand. "Ramona, I meant what I said earlier. I love you. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want you in it. I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like." "I want that too," Ramona said. "I never thought I'd have a second chance at happiness. I thought that part of my life was over. But you and Isabella have shown me that it's never too late for new beginnings." They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, watching the night sky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and joys. But tonight, they were content to simply be together, two people who had found love in the most unexpected place, building hope from the ashes of loss. Spring turned into summer, and with it came a season of growth and change for all of them. Ramona enrolled in online college courses to finish her degree, something she had started before her mother's death. Vincent supported her completely, adjusting her work schedule so she had time for studies. Isabella started an advanced art program at a local studio. They took a vacation together in July, driving up the coast to a small beach town. For a week, they were just a normal family building sandcastles and swimming and eating ice cream. Ramona realized that she had not felt this carefree since she was a child herself, before life became complicated and hard. One evening on the beach, Vincent took Ramona's hand as they walked along the shore. Isabella was ahead of them, looking for shells in the fading light. "I want to ask you something," Vincent said. "What?" "How do you feel about moving into the main house? Your own room, of course, but actually living with us instead of in the guest house." Ramona considered this. It was a big step, but it felt right. "I think I'd like that." Yeah. The guest house is wonderful, but I want to be closer. I want to have breakfast together every morning and say goodnight every evening. I want to be part of the family, not separate from it." "You're already part of the family," Vincent said. "This would just make it official." "Then yes, I'll move into the main house." "There's one more thing," Vincent said. He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I know we've only been together officially for a few months. I know some people would say it's too fast. But Ramona, when you've lost someone you love, you learn not to waste time. You learn that tomorrow isn't guaranteed, that love is precious and rare and should be celebrated, not delayed." Ramona's heart started racing. "Vincent, I'm not proposing," he said quickly. "Not yet. But I want you to know that I'm thinking about it, that I see a future with you, that when I imagine the rest of my life, you're in every picture." Ramona felt tears roll down her cheeks. "I see you in my future too. You and Isabella. This family we're building." "Good," Vincent said. "Then we're on the same page." They stood on the beach as the sun set, holding each other, while Isabella ran up with a perfect shell she wanted to show them. In that moment, surrounded by the people she loved, Ramona understood something profound. The coat she had given away that freezing night had been worth everything. Not because of what she had received in return, but because love was always worth the sacrifice. Kindness always mattered. Hope was always justified. Her mother had been right about all of it. August brought heat and long lazy days. Ramona moved into the main house as planned, taking a bedroom on the second floor that overlooked the garden. She decorated it herself, choosing soft blues and greens, hanging her mother's coat in the closet like a treasured relic. This room was hers, her sanctuary, but she spent most of her time in the common areas with Vincent and Isabella. Living together full-time changed things in subtle ways. Ramona saw Vincent first thing every morning, sleep-tousled and casual. She saw him stressed after difficult work calls, vulnerable in ways he rarely showed the outside world. She saw him as a father, patient and loving with Isabella even when he was exhausted. She saw him as a man with flaws and fears and moments of doubt. And somehow, seeing all of that made her love him more. Vincent saw Ramona in her real moments too. He saw her studying late into the night for her college courses, determined to finish her degree. He saw her gentle patience with Isabella. He saw her generosity with others, always thinking of ways to help people who were struggling the way she once had. He saw her strength, the quiet resilience that had kept her alive through years of poverty and loss. They fell into easy routines. Morning coffee on the patio. Evening walks around the neighborhood. Lazy Sunday mornings reading the paper together while Isabella made breakfast. Small touches throughout the day, a hand on a shoulder, fingers brushing as they passed in hallways, goodnight hugs that lasted just a bit longer than necessary. Isabella watched them with obvious satisfaction. "You guys are disgusting," she would say with mock annoyance when they held hands at dinner. But her smile always gave away how happy she really was. One evening in late August, Dorothy from the community center came to dinner. Ramona had stayed in touch with her, visiting the center once a month to volunteer. Dorothy had become a friend, a connection to Ramona's past that kept her grounded in gratitude. "Look at you," Dorothy said when she arrived, taking in the beautiful house, the happy family, Ramona's healthy glow. "You're living proof that kindness pays back." During dinner, Dorothy told them about the center's struggles. Funding had been cut, and they were in danger of losing their meal program. Hundreds of people depended on that program for daily food. Vincent listened carefully, asking questions about budgets and operations. After dinner, he pulled Dorothy aside. "How much would it take to keep the program running for a year?" he asked. Dorothy named a figure that made her wince. "I know it's a lot. We're applying for grants, trying to fundraise, but..." "I'll cover it," Vincent said. "What?" "I'll cover the full amount. And I'll match any additional donations you receive this year." That program saved Ramona's life more than once. It's important work. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Bradford, that's incredibly generous. It's the least I can do. Ramona taught me something important, that we're all one bad break away from needing help. I have resources. I should use them to make a difference. After Dorothy left, Ramona found Vincent in his study. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. That center was there for you when no one else was. Now I can be there for them. Ramona crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. Thank you. For understanding why it matters. I understand because you helped me understand. Before you came into our lives, I wrote checks to charities but never thought much about the actual people those charities served. Now I see them. I see you in them. I want to do more. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other in the quiet study. Outside, the summer evening faded into night, stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. I have an idea, Ramona said suddenly. What if we started our own program? To help women, specifically women like I was, who are trying to rebuild their lives. Vincent pulled back to look at her. Tell me more. We could provide temporary housing, job training, support services. Help them get back on their feet. Give them the kind of chance you gave me. I love it, Vincent said. We could use one of my properties, the apartment building on 7th Street. It's half empty right now. They stayed up late that night, planning and dreaming. Isabella joined them, contributing her own ideas. They decided to call it Geneva House, after Ramona's mother, and focus on helping homeless women with children. They would provide not just housing but life skills, resume building, interview coaching, childcare support. We could hire graduates of the program to staff it, Ramona suggested. Give them meaningful employment while helping others. We'll need a director, Vincent said. Someone who understands the challenges these women face. I could do it, Ramona said quietly. I mean, eventually, once I finish my degree, I could run it. Vincent looked at her with such pride and love that Ramona felt her heart swell. You would be perfect. They spent the next 2 months getting Geneva House ready. Vincent handled the finances and legal work. Ramona designed the programs, drawing from her own experience to create something truly helpful rather than just charity. Isabella painted murals in the common areas, bright scenes of hope and new beginnings. Geneva House opened in October with room for 15 women and their children. The first resident was a young mother named Crystal who had been living in her car with her 2-year-old daughter. Watching Crystal's face when she saw her new apartment, seeing the hope bloom in her eyes, Ramona understood that this was her purpose. This was why she had survived all those years of struggle. The grand opening was small but meaningful. Dorothy came, along with several other shelter operators and community leaders. Vincent made a brief speech about the importance of giving people second chances. But it was Ramona who cut the ribbon, standing in front of Geneva House with tears streaming down her face. My mother taught me that love matters more than anything else, Ramona said to the small crowd. That kindness is never wasted even when it costs us everything. This house is proof that she was right. One act of kindness on a freezing night led to all of this. Let it be a reminder that we never know how far our compassion will reach. Isabella stood beside her, holding the painting she had made of Ramona giving away the coat. They hung it in the lobby of Geneva House, a reminder to every woman who came through the doors that their circumstances did not define them, that change was possible, that hope was always justified. That evening, the three of them celebrated with a quiet dinner at home. They toasted to Geneva, to second chances, to the family they had become. I'm so proud of you, Vincent told Ramona. Of everything you've accomplished, everything you're doing to help others. I couldn't have done any of it without you, Ramona said. Without your generosity and support. You could have, Vincent corrected. You have strength and compassion that existed long before I came into your life. I just gave you resources. The vision, the heart, the dedication, that's all you. Isabella raised her glass of sparkling cider. To Ramona, the best person I know. To all of us, Ramona countered. To the family we've built and the love that holds us together. They clinked glasses, three people bound by affection and shared purpose, celebrating not just Geneva House but the journey that had brought them here. Later that night, after Isabella went to bed, Vincent and Ramona sat in the living room, the house quiet around them. I want to tell you something, Vincent said. Something I haven't told anyone since my wife died. What is it? When Sarah was in her final weeks, she made me promise something. She made me promise that I would find love again, that I wouldn't spend the rest of my life alone out of some misplaced sense of loyalty to her memory. She said she loved me too much to want me to be lonely. Ramona took his hand. Isabella told me something similar. Sarah also said something else. She said I would know when I found the right person because they would make me want to be better, not just for myself but for the world. She said the right person would challenge me and comfort me in equal measure. And? Vincent looked at her with such openness, such vulnerability, that Ramona's breath caught. You're that person, Ramona. You make me want to be better every single day. You've opened my eyes to things I was blind to. You've taught me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to help others. You've shown me what real courage looks like. You've given me and Isabella a reason to hope again, to believe in new beginnings. You've given me those things too, Ramona said. A year ago I was dying on the streets. Now I'm living a life I never thought possible. You saved me, Vincent. You and Isabella saved me just as surely as I saved her that night. Then we saved each other, Vincent said. And that's how it should be. That's what love is, right? Mutual salvation. They kissed, slow and deep, a kiss that spoke of love and commitment and shared futures. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. I think my mother would have liked you, Ramona said. I think my wife would have liked you too, Vincent replied. I think they would have been friends. Maybe they're friends now, Ramona suggested. Maybe they're up there somewhere, happy that we found each other. I like that thought. They sat together in the quiet house, holding hands, feeling grateful for the unexpected paths that had brought them to this moment. Outside, autumn leaves rustled in the evening breeze, the sound like whispered blessings. Neither of them knew that challenges were coming, that their happiness would soon be tested. But for tonight they were content, two people who had found love in the aftermath of loss, building hope one day at a time. October brought cooler weather and a new arrival, Vincent's sister, Patricia. She lived across the country and rarely visited, so when she called to announce she was coming for a week, Vincent was both surprised and wary. Patricia and I aren't close, he explained to Ramona. We grew up in very different circumstances. She married wealthy, lives in a world of country clubs and social events. She never approved of Sarah because Sarah came from a working-class background. Will she approve of me? Ramona asked. Vincent pulled her close. I don't care if she approves or not. You're important to me and Isabella. That's all that matters. But despite his brave words, Ramona could see Vincent was worried. She understood why when Patricia arrived. Patricia Bradford Montgomery was everything Ramona expected. Perfectly dressed, professionally made up, carrying designer luggage and radiating wealth. She was in her early 50s with Vincent's same dark hair and sharp features. But where Vincent's face showed kindness, Patricia's showed judgment. She looked Ramona up and down when Vincent introduced them, her expression carefully neutral. So you're the woman my brother has been telling me about. It's nice to meet you, Ramona said, offering her hand. Patricia shook it briefly. Vincent mentioned you work for him as Isabella's companion? Yes, and I'm also director of a women's shelter we recently opened. How interesting, Patricia said in a tone that suggested it was anything but interesting. The first 2 days of Patricia's visit were tense. She asked Ramona pointed questions about her background, her education, her plans for the future. She watched Ramona and Vincent together with barely concealed disapproval. She was polite but cold, maintaining perfect manners while making it clear she did not approve of the relationship. Isabella noticed and didn't like it. Aunt Patricia is being mean to Ramona, she told her father on the third day. She's being careful, Vincent corrected, though his jaw was tight with frustration. She thinks she's protecting me. From what? From being happy? Vincent didn't have a good answer for that. Things came to a head on the fourth day. Vincent had an important business meeting, and Ramona had a shift at Geneva House. Patricia offered to take Isabella shopping, and Ramona encouraged Isabella to go, to spend time with her aunt. But while they were alone in the house that evening, Patricia confronted Vincent directly. We need to talk about your girlfriend, Patricia said as soon as Vincent came home. Ramona, Vincent said firmly. Her name is Ramona. Fine. Ramona. Vincent, don't you think this relationship is moving too fast? She went from homeless to living in your house in less than a year. Don't you see how that looks? I see how it is, Vincent said. I see a woman who saved my daughter's life. A woman who has brought joy back into our home. A woman I love. You barely know her. How can you be sure she's not after your money? Because I know her character. Because I've seen her heart. Because she gave away everything she had to save a child she didn't know. People can be very good at playing roles, Patricia said. I'm just worried about you. About Isabella. This woman came from nothing. You have everything. Those kinds of differences matter. The only difference that matters is that Ramona is kind and generous and loving, and you're being judgmental and cruel. Patricia flinched. I'm being realistic. I'm trying to protect you from making a mistake. The only mistake would be letting you drive away the best thing that's happened to this family since Sarah died. Don't you dare compare her to Sarah. I'm not comparing them. They're completely different people and I love them for completely different reasons. But Ramona makes me happy, Patricia. She makes Isabella happy. Why can't you just be happy for us? Because I'm afraid, Patricia admitted. Her voice cracked. I'm afraid you're going to get hurt. I'm afraid this woman is going to take advantage of you. I'm afraid you're moving on too fast from Sarah and you'll regret it. Vincent's anger softened slightly. I appreciate your concern. But Patricia, I'm a grown man. I've been through loss and grief. I know what I'm doing. Ramona isn't taking advantage of me. If anything, I'm taking advantage of her patience and kindness. How can you be so sure? Because she didn't want any of this. She refused my help at first. I had to convince her to accept the job, the apartment, everything. She works harder than anyone I know. She started Geneva House not to benefit herself but to help other women in situations like she was in. She's genuine, Patricia. As genuine as anyone I've ever met. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I hired a private investigator to look into her background. Vincent felt fury rise in his chest. You did what? I had to know who this woman really is, what she's been hiding. She's not hiding anything. She's been completely honest with me about her past. Then you won't mind seeing the report. Patricia pulled a folder from her purse and handed it to Vincent. Vincent wanted to throw it away without looking, but he forced himself to open it. Inside were pages of information about Ramona's life. Her mother's death. The years of poverty and homelessness. Multiple job applications rejected. Hospital records from when he had brought her in with pneumonia. Photos from the community center. And one more thing. A newspaper clipping from 12 years ago, showing a younger Ramona receiving an award for volunteer work at the hospital where Sarah had been treated. Vincent stared at the clipping. She worked at the hospital where Sarah was? According to the records, she was a volunteer in the palliative care ward. She was there when your wife was there. Vincent's hands trembled. He remembered Sarah's final weeks in that hospital. He remembered the nurses and doctors, but there had been volunteers too. People who brought meals, who sat with patients, who provided comfort in small ways. Had Ramona been one of them? Had their paths crossed before that freezing night? Had she shown kindness to Sarah the way she showed kindness to everyone? I don't know what you're trying to prove, Vincent said quietly. That Ramona is some kind of con artist who has been planning this for years? That's absurd. She didn't even know who Isabella was that night. She didn't know who I was when I found her. I'm just saying you should be careful. No, Vincent said. You're saying you don't trust my judgment. You're saying you think I'm too stupid or too grief-stricken to know real love when I find it. But you're wrong, Patricia. Ramona is the real thing. And if you can't accept that, then maybe you should leave. Vincent. I mean it. I love you. You're my sister. But I won't let you destroy what Ramona and I are building. Either you accept her and treat her with respect, or you need to go home. Patricia stood up, her face flushed. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need support. Can you give me that? Patricia grabbed her purse and walked to the door. I need some air. I'm going for a walk. She left, and Vincent sat alone with the folder, staring at the photo of young Ramona at the hospital. Had she met Sarah? Had she been kind to his dying wife? The thought made his heart ache and swell at the same time. Ramona came home an hour later, tired from her day at Geneva House. She found Vincent in the living room, the folder on the coffee table in front of him. What's that? She asked. Patricia hired an investigator to look into your background. Ramona felt her stomach drop. Oh. She found out you volunteered at the hospital where Sarah was treated. Ramona sat down slowly, her face pale. I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how. You met Sarah? I don't know. I met a lot of patients. It was 12 years ago, before I lost my mother, before my life fell apart. I volunteered 1 day a week, bringing meals and sitting with people who didn't have visitors. But I didn't keep records of names. I don't remember everyone I met. But you might have met her. You might have been kind to her. Yes, Ramona whispered. I might have. Vincent stood up and pulled her into his arms. Then you've been saving my family for longer than I realized. Don't you see? Even before that night with Isabella, even before I knew your name, you were there, showing kindness to the people I love. Ramona started crying, great shaking sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. I should have told you. I realized it a few months ago when I saw a photo of your wife. I thought she looked familiar and then I remembered the hospital. But I didn't know how to bring it up. I didn't want you to think I was trying to manipulate your emotions. I don't think that. I think it's proof that you're exactly who I always knew you were. Someone who gives without expecting anything in return. Someone who shows up for people in their darkest moments. They held each other for a long time. When Ramona finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. What did Patricia say? She thinks I'm making a mistake. She thinks you're taking advantage of me. Maybe she's right to be concerned. The situation does look suspicious from the outside. But we know the truth, Vincent said. We know how this really happened. We know that your kindness brought us together, not manipulation or calculation. Does Patricia know that? She will. Or she won't, and that'll be her loss. Patricia returned 2 hours later. She found Vincent and Ramona in the kitchen making dinner together. They moved around each other easily, a dance of familiarity and affection. Patricia watched them for a moment before speaking. I owe you an apology, she said to Ramona. Ramona turned, surprised. I was worried about my brother, Patricia continued. I was trying to protect him. But I see now that he doesn't need protection from you. He needs you, period. Thank you, Ramona said quietly. I also want to apologize for the investigation. It was invasive and wrong. I had no right. You were looking out for family. I understand that. Patricia smiled slightly. You're very gracious. More gracious than I deserve. She paused. I'd like to start over if that's okay. Get to know you properly instead of looking for problems. I'd like that. They shook hands, a real handshake this time, one that felt like a beginning instead of an ending. Over the next 3 days, Patricia made a genuine effort. She asked Ramona about Geneva House and seemed genuinely impressed by the work they were doing. She helped Isabella with an art project. She apologized to Vincent for overstepping. On her last night, Patricia pulled Ramona aside. I want you to know something, Patricia said. When I was going through the investigation files, I found something I didn't show Vincent. A note you wrote to a patient in the hospital, someone in palliative care. The note said, you are not alone. You are loved. Your life has mattered. Ramona remembered writing notes like that for patients, small encouragements left on their meal trays. That patient was Sarah, Patricia said. I checked the dates. You wrote that note to Vincent's wife 3 days before she died. She probably read those words in her final days. Your kindness touched my sister-in-law's life even then. Ramona felt tears well up. I'm glad I could give her some comfort. You gave her more than comfort. You gave her words she needed to hear. And now you're giving Vincent and Isabella the love and hope they need. You're a gift to this family, Ramona. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. Thank you, Ramona whispered. That means a lot. When Patricia left the next morning, she hugged Ramona tightly. Take care of them, she said. And let them take care of you. I will. After Patricia's car pulled away, Vincent found Ramona standing in the driveway. You okay? He asked. Better than okay, Ramona said. I feel like we just passed an important test. We did. And we passed it together. They walked back into the house hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next, stronger for having survived this challenge to their relationship. Outside, autumn leaves fell in golden spirals, and the air smelled like change and new possibilities. The storm had passed, but its effects would linger in unexpected ways. Patricia's acceptance had been important, but it had also forced Vincent and Ramona to confront questions about their future. Questions they could no longer avoid. November brought cold winds and early darkness, but inside Vincent's home there was warmth. Thanksgiving was approaching, and Isabella had insisted they celebrate properly, with all the traditional foods and decorations. It's our first Thanksgiving as a real family, she said. We have to make it special. Ramona and Isabella spent the week before Thanksgiving preparing. They made decorations together, stringing paper leaves and turkeys around the house. They planned the menu, debating whether to make pumpkin pie or apple pie or both. They laughed and talked and made memories, the kind of simple, precious memories that build a family. Vincent watched them with a heart so full he thought it might burst. His daughter was happy again, really happy, not just surviving but thriving. And Ramona, the woman who had stumbled into their lives through an act of selfless courage, had become essential to that happiness. He knew what he wanted to do. He had known for months, really, but Patricia's visit had clarified things. Life was too short to wait. Love was too precious to delay. He wanted to marry Ramona. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Vincent took Isabella to a jewelry store. He explained what he was planning, asked for her blessing, her input. It's about time, Isabella said, grinning. I've been waiting for you to propose for months. I wanted to make sure it was the right time. Dad, any time is the right time when you love someone. Mom always said that. They looked at rings together, and Isabella helped him pick out a simple platinum band with 3 small diamonds. It's perfect, Isabella said. Not too fancy but beautiful. Just like Ramona. Vincent planned to propose on Thanksgiving Day after dinner, when they were all full and happy and grateful. He told Isabella his plan, and she helped him prepare, as excited as if she were getting married herself. But Ramona had her own secret. She had been feeling sick for a couple weeks. Nothing serious, just occasional nausea and fatigue. She assumed it was stress or maybe a minor virus. But when the symptoms persisted, she went to the doctor for a checkup. The doctor ran some tests, then ran more tests, then called Ramona into her office with a serious expression. Ramona, I need to tell you something. You're pregnant. Ramona felt the world tilt. That's not possible. I mean, I'm on birth control. Birth control isn't always 100% effective. Based on your test results in your last cycle, I'd estimate you're about 8 weeks along. 8 weeks. Ramona did the math in her head. That would have been right after Patricia left, during that emotional week when she and Vincent had been reaffirming their commitment to each other. Are you okay? The doctor asked. I don't know, Ramona admitted. I need to think. I need to talk to Vincent. She drove home in a daze, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. Pregnant. She was going to have a baby. Vincent's baby. She thought about how Isabella would react. They had formed such a close bond, but would Isabella feel threatened by a new baby? Would she feel replaced? She thought about Vincent. They had talked about the future in abstract terms, but they had never specifically discussed having children together. Vincent already had Isabella. Maybe he didn't want more children. Maybe this would be too much, too fast. She thought about herself. She was 42 years old. She had spent the last 13 years in poverty, barely surviving. Was she really ready to be a mother? Did she even know how to be a mother? But underneath all the fear and uncertainty, Ramona felt something else. Joy. Pure, unexpected joy. A baby. A child of her own. A tangible symbol of the love she and Vincent shared. She decided to tell him on Thanksgiving. She would wait until Isabella went to bed, and then she would tell him and they would figure it out together. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and bright. The 3 of them spent the morning cooking together, the kitchen filled with laughter and the smell of roasting turkey. Vincent kept sneaking glances at Ramona, and Ramona kept catching him, both of them hiding secrets behind their smiles. Isabella was oblivious, too excited about the feast to notice the undercurrents of tension and anticipation. They ate dinner in the formal dining room, the table laden with food. They went around the table saying what they were grateful for. I'm grateful for this family, Isabella said. For Dad and for Ramona and for being happy again. I'm grateful for second chances, Vincent said, his eyes on Ramona. For the courage to hope again. I'm grateful for kindness, Ramona said softly. For people who see the best in us even when we can't see it in ourselves. After dinner they cleared the table together. Isabella helped with dishes, then declared she was exhausted and going to bed early. She hugged them both good night, lingering a bit longer than usual when she hugged Ramona. Love you, Isabella whispered. Love you too, sweetheart. After Isabella went upstairs, Vincent led Ramona to the living room. They settled on the couch and Vincent took her hands. I have something I want to say, they both said at the same time. They laughed, nervous. You first, Vincent said. No, you first. Okay. Vincent took a deep breath. Ramona, this last year with you has been the happiest time of my life since Sarah died. You've brought light back into this house. You've given Isabella joy and stability. You've given me hope and love. You've challenged me to be better, to do more with my resources, to care about things that matter. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Ramona's eyes widened. Vincent, I know we haven't been together very long in traditional terms. But I also know that when you've experienced loss like we have, you learn not to waste time. You learn that love is rare and precious and should be celebrated. He opened the box, revealing the ring. Ramona Washington, will you marry me? Tears streamed down Ramona's face. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Vincent slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his arms. They kissed, long and deep, a kiss full of promise and love. When they finally pulled apart, Vincent said, What did you want to tell me? Ramona took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Vincent froze. You're, what? I found out this week. I'm about 8 weeks along. I know we never talked about having more children. I know this is sudden. But Vincent, I'm happy about it. Scared but happy. Vincent's face had gone through a series of expressions. Shock, disbelief, confusion, and now, slowly, joy. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. Oh my God. Vincent laughed, the sound shaky with emotion. Oh my God, Ramona. This is incredible. This is perfect. Really? You're not upset? Upset? I'm thrilled. Terrified but thrilled. I never thought I'd have another child. I never thought I'd have this chance again. He put his hand on her stomach even though it was too early to feel anything. Hello in there. I'm your dad. And I already love you so much. Ramona started crying again, but these were tears of relief and joy. What about Isabella? How do you think she'll react? She'll be excited. She's been asking for a sibling for years. Really? Really? She used to ask Sarah and me all the time. After Sarah died, she stopped asking because she didn't want to make me sad. But she's going to love being a big sister. They sat together, Vincent's hand on Ramona's stomach, both of them overwhelmed by the events of the evening. Engaged and expecting. Their lives were changing in ways neither of them had anticipated. When should we tell Isabella? Ramona asked. Tomorrow. At breakfast. Let's tell her both things together, that we're getting married and that she's going to be a big sister. She might pass out from excitement. She might. Vincent kissed Ramona again. Thank you. For what? For saying yes. For carrying our child. For loving me and Isabella. For being exactly who you are. Thank you for finding me, Ramona said. For not giving up. For changing my life. We changed each other's lives, Vincent corrected. That's what love does. They stayed up late into the night, making plans and dreaming about the future. They talked about wedding dates and baby names. They talked about telling Patricia and Dorothy and everyone else who mattered to them. They talked about Geneva House and whether Ramona would continue working there during her pregnancy. I want to keep working as long as I can, Ramona said. Those women need to see that change is possible, that you can go from having nothing to having everything. My story gives them hope. Our story, Vincent corrected. We're writing this story together now. In the morning they told Isabella over pancakes. True to Vincent's prediction, Isabella screamed with joy. I'm getting a little brother or sister? She yelled. And you guys are getting married? This is the best day ever. She hugged Ramona so hard they both almost fell over. I'm going to be the best big sister ever. I'm going to teach the baby how to paint and how to read and everything. You're going to be amazing, Ramona said, holding Isabella tight. Isabella pulled back, her face suddenly serious. Can I ask you something? Anything. After you and Dad get married, can I call you Mom? Not all the time, just sometimes. I know you're not my real mom, but you feel like a mom to me. Ramona felt her heart shatter and remake itself in the same moment. Isabella, I would be honored if you called me Mom. Isabella threw her arms around Ramona again. Vincent joined the hug and the three of them stood in the kitchen, wrapped in each other's arms, a family built from loss and kindness, now growing in unexpected and beautiful ways. That afternoon they called Patricia to share the news. She surprised them by crying with happiness. I'm so glad you two have found each other, Patricia said. And I'm going to be an aunt again. This is wonderful. They called Dorothy next, who also cried. Your mother would be so proud of you, Dorothy told Ramona. So proud of the woman you've become and the family you're building. I hope so, Ramona said. I hope she's watching. That evening the three of them walked to Geneva House. Ramona wanted to share the news with the women there, to show them that happy endings were real. The residents gathered in the common room, and Ramona stood in front of them with Vincent and Isabella at her side. I have some news to share, Ramona said. Vincent and I are getting married. And we're going to have a baby. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Crystal, the first resident of Geneva House, stood up with tears in her eyes. When I came here 3 months ago, I thought my life was over, Crystal said. I thought I would always be struggling, always be one step away from being back on the streets. But watching you, Ramona, watching your story, it gives me hope. If you can go from sleeping behind dumpsters to this, then maybe I can build a good life too. You can, Ramona said. You will. All of you will. Because you're strong and brave and worth fighting for. As they walked home under the stars, Isabella holding both Vincent's and Ramona's hands, Ramona felt complete. She had a family. She had a home. She had a purpose. She had love. And most importantly, she had hope. Not just for herself, but for all the women like her, all the people struggling to survive, all the ones who thought their stories were over. Her story wasn't over. It was just beginning. December came with snow and celebration. Vincent and Ramona set their wedding date for June, wanting time to prepare properly and for Ramona to get through the early stages of her pregnancy. Isabella threw herself into wedding planning with enthusiasm, creating Pinterest boards and suggesting venues and color schemes. Geneva House continued to thrive. 3 more women had moved in, and Crystal had gotten a full-time job at a local bakery. The other residents were making progress too, attending classes, looking for work, rebuilding their lives step by step. Ramona continued working at Geneva House through her first trimester, though Vincent worried constantly about her overdoing it. "I'm pregnant, not fragile," Ramona would remind him. "I know. But you're also carrying our child and I'm allowed to be protective." The pregnancy was going well. Morning sickness had been mild and Ramona felt healthy and strong. At 12 weeks they had their first ultrasound. Seeing the tiny form on the screen, hearing the rapid heartbeat, made everything feel suddenly, powerfully real. "That's our baby," Vincent whispered, squeezing Ramona's hand. "That's our baby," Ramona agreed. Isabella came to the appointment too, staring at the screen with wonder. "It's so tiny. How does something so tiny become a whole person?" "Magic," the ultrasound technician said with a smile. "The best kind of magic." They got copies of the ultrasound photos, and Isabella insisted on putting one on the refrigerator at home and one in the lobby of Geneva House. "Everyone should know about the baby," Isabella said. "It's going to be the luckiest baby in the world." Everything seemed perfect. And then, 2 weeks before Christmas, Vincent got a phone call that changed everything. He was in his office when his lawyer called. "Vincent, we have a problem. Do you remember a case from about 8 years ago? A business deal that went south with a company called Meridian Technologies?" "Vaguely," Vincent said. "Why?" "They're suing you. They claim you engaged in fraudulent practices during the acquisition. They're asking for $200 million in damages." Vincent felt his blood run cold. "That's absurd. Everything we did was legal and above board. I have all the documentation." "I know. But they have a witness who's willing to testify that you falsified financial records. A former employee of yours named Bradley Chin." Vincent remembered Bradley. He had worked for Bradford Financial for 6 months before being fired for incompetence and dishonesty. He had threatened to cause problems, but Vincent had never taken the threat seriously. "This is revenge," Vincent said. "Bradley was fired years ago. He's lying." "Can you prove that?" "Yes, I can prove all of it. But this is going to be a long, ugly legal battle." "It will be. And Vincent, there's something else. The media is already picking up on this. There are going to be articles, speculation. Your reputation is going to take a hit." Vincent hung up and immediately called Ramona. "Can you come to my office? We need to talk." Ramona arrived 30 minutes later, concern written all over her face. Vincent explained the situation, the lawsuit, the false accusations, the media attention that was coming. "They're going to dig into everything," Vincent said. "My finances, my business dealings, my personal life. They're going to find out about you, about how we met. They're going to make it look suspicious." "Let them," Ramona said firmly. "We know the truth. That's all that matters. It matters because they could hurt you. They could hurt Geneva House. They could make your life difficult." "Vincent, I survived 13 years of homelessness. I survived poverty and hunger and cold. I can survive some bad press." He pulled her into his arms. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to drag you into my problems. We're getting married. Your problems are my problems. And we'll face them together." The first article came out the next day. It was brutal. Billionaire accused of fraud faces massive lawsuit. The article detailed the allegations, painted Vincent as a ruthless businessman who crushed competitors without mercy. The second article was worse. From homeless to billionaire's fiancé, a fairy tale or something more? It detailed Ramona's background, her years on the streets, the fact that she now lived with Vincent and was expecting his child. The article heavily implied that Ramona had manipulated her way into Vincent's life, that the entire relationship was a calculated con. Ramona read the article on her phone and felt sick. Not because she cared what strangers thought, but because she worried about how this would affect Isabella, Geneva House, and the women who depended on them. She was right to worry. By the end of the week, several donors had withdrawn their support from Geneva House. People who had pledged money suddenly disappeared. The board of directors called an emergency meeting to discuss whether Ramona should step down as director. "The negative publicity is affecting our ability to help women," one board member said. "If Ramona stays on, we might lose even more funding." Dorothy, who was also on the board, stood up angrily. That's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps women like Ramona trapped in poverty. You're saying that because she was poor, because she struggled, she doesn't deserve success? That's shameful. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to be practical. Practical would be standing by the woman who created this program, who knows exactly what these residents are going through. Abandoning her now would be cowardly. The debate went on for 2 hours. In the end, the board voted to keep Ramona as director, but it was close. Several members voted against her. Ramona tried to stay strong, but the constant attacks were wearing her down. She was 4 months pregnant now, and the stress was affecting her. She wasn't sleeping well. She wasn't eating enough. She cried more than she wanted to admit. Vincent was fighting his own battles. His legal team was working around the clock to disprove the accusations, but the court proceedings were slow. Meanwhile, his business was suffering. Clients were pulling contracts, worried about being associated with a company under investigation. Vincent's stock value had dropped 20% in 2 weeks. Isabella was struggling too. Kids at her school had seen the articles. Some teased her about her gold digger, almost stepmother. Others whispered when Isabella walked past. Her art teacher found her crying in the studio one afternoon. They're saying mean things about Ramona, Isabella sobbed. They're saying she's a bad person who tricked my dad. But that's not true. She saved my life. She's the best person I know. The teacher held Isabella while she cried, wishing she could fix everything. That night, the 3 of them sat together in the living room, exhausted and hurting. Maybe I should leave, Ramona said quietly. Maybe if I moved out, if we called off the engagement, the publicity would die down. Geneva House could recover. Your business could recover. Absolutely not, Vincent said firmly. Vincent, be realistic. This is destroying everything you've built. What I've built doesn't matter if I lose you. Ramona, I don't care about money or reputation or what the media says. I care about you and Isabella and our baby. That's all that matters. But what if we lose everything? Then we lose everything together, Vincent said. And we rebuild together. Ramona, you rebuilt your entire life from nothing. You can help me rebuild if it comes to that. But I will not walk away from you. I will not let fear or public opinion dictate my choices. Isabella moved closer to Ramona and put her hand on Ramona's stomach, where a small bump was just beginning to show. You're my family now. That doesn't change because some people are being mean. We stick together no matter what. Ramona cried, holding both of them close. I don't know what I did to deserve you too. You gave your coat to a freezing child, Vincent reminded her. You chose love over survival. You earned this, Ramona. You earned all of it. The next morning, Vincent made a decision. He called a press conference. His lawyer advised against it. Don't engage with the media. Let us handle this in court. No, Vincent said. I'm not hiding. I'm going to tell the truth. At the press conference, Vincent stood at a podium with Ramona beside him. She wore a blue dress, her pregnancy just visible, her hand in Vincent's. I'm here today to address the recent accusations against me and my company, Vincent began. The allegations are false. We have extensive documentation proving that all our business practices were legal and ethical. My legal team is preparing our defense, and I'm confident we will prevail in court. He paused, looking directly at the cameras. But I'm not here just to talk about business. I'm here to talk about truth. The truth is that 13 months ago, my daughter nearly died from hypothermia on a freezing street. A homeless woman saved her life by giving Isabella her only coat. That woman was Ramona Washington. Vincent put his arm around Ramona. Ramona gave away everything she had to save a child she didn't know. That act of selflessness changed my family's life. I spent weeks searching for her, and when I finally found her, she was sick and struggling. I offered her a job and a place to live because she had earned it 1,000 times over. Over the following months, she transformed my daughter's life and mine. She showed us how to hope again, how to love again. His voice grew stronger, more passionate. Some of you have suggested that Ramona manipulated her way into my life. That she's using me for money. Those suggestions are not only false, they're insulting. Ramona didn't want anything from me. She refused my help at first. I had to convince her to accept it. Everything she has, she earned through her kindness, her work, and her character. Ramona squeezed his hand, tears running down her face. We fell in love because we recognized in each other the same pain, the same loss, the same determination to rebuild. We're getting married because we want to build a life together. We're having a baby because we're creating a family based on love and hope. That's the truth. and no amount of negative publicity will change it. Vincent looked at Ramona, speaking to her now as much as to the cameras. I love you, Ramona Washington. I'm proud to stand beside you. I'm proud to call you my partner. And I'm proud that our child will have you as a mother. He turned back to the reporters. If you want to attack me, attack me. But leave Ramona alone. She has done nothing wrong. She has done everything right. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that she deserves every good thing that has come to her. The press conference ended. Some reporters looked moved. Others looked skeptical. But Vincent didn't care. He had told the truth. That was all he could do. As they walked out of the building, Ramona leaned against Vincent. Thank you for defending me. Always, Vincent said. I will always defend you. The public reaction to the press conference was mixed. Some people were touched by Vincent's passionate defense of Ramona. Others remained convinced she was a con artist. But slowly the tide began to turn. Dorothy organized the residents of Geneva House to speak to the media about how Ramona had helped them. Crystal gave an interview about how Ramona had given her hope when she had none. Other women shared their stories. Ramona could have taken Vincent's money and lived a comfortable life, one woman said. Instead, she created Geneva House to help other women like herself. That's not the action of a gold digger. That's the action of someone who genuinely cares. Isabella's art teacher organized a show of Isabella's work, including the painting of Ramona giving away her coat. The painting went viral on social media with thousands of people sharing it and commenting on the story behind it. This is real love, one comment read. This is what kindness looks like. Slowly, very slowly, the narrative began to change. People started seeing Ramona not as a manipulator but as a hero. Vincent's business partners started calling to offer support. Donors returned to Geneva House. And then in early January, Vincent's legal team uncovered the smoking gun. Bradley Chin, the former employee who had accused Vincent of fraud, had been paid by Meridian Technologies to lie. There were emails, bank records, proof of the conspiracy. The lawsuit collapsed. Meridian Technologies withdrew their case and issued a public apology. Bradley Chin was arrested for perjury. Vincent's reputation was restored. His business recovered. The media attention finally died down. On a cold January evening, exactly 13 months after Ramona had given her coat to Isabella, the three of them stood in the backyard looking up at the stars. We made it through, Ramona said softly. We did, Vincent agreed. Together. Together, Isabella echoed, putting her hands on Ramona's growing belly. All four of us. They stood in the darkness, a family forged by courage and tested by fire, stronger than ever. The worst was over. Now they could focus on building their future. A wedding, a baby, a life full of love and hope. The truth had set them free. And the truth was simple. Love was worth fighting for. Always. Spring arrived with warmth and new beginnings. Ramona's belly had grown round and full. She was 7 months pregnant now, glowing with health and happiness. The baby kicked constantly, strong movements that made everyone laugh when they felt them. This baby is going to be a soccer player, Vincent joked. Isabella spent hours talking to her future sibling through Ramona's stomach. I'm your big sister, she would say. And I'm going to teach you everything. Geneva House had expanded. With renewed funding and public support, they had opened a second location. 20 more women and children now had a safe place to rebuild their lives. Crystal had been hired as assistant director, proof that the program worked, that transformation was possible. You gave me a future, Crystal told Ramona. Now I get to help give other women the same gift. Vincent's business had recovered completely. In fact, it was thriving. The publicity around the lawsuit's collapse had brought new clients, people who respected how Vincent had fought for his family, how he had stood by his principles even when it cost him. But more importantly, Vincent had changed. He was less focused on profit and more focused on purpose. He had started several charitable initiatives, using his wealth to address homelessness, poverty, and inequality. He credited Ramona with opening his eyes to what really mattered. Money is just a tool, he said in one interview. What matters is how you use it. Do you use it to build bigger walls around yourself or do you use it to build bridges to others? The wedding was planned for early June, a small ceremony in the backyard of their home. They had considered postponing it until after the baby was born, but Ramona insisted. I want to marry you before our child arrives, she said. I want our baby to come into a family that's already officially united. 2 weeks before the wedding, Dorothy visited with a special gift. She handed Ramona a box, her eyes twinkling with mischief. What's this? Ramona asked. Open it and see. Inside was Geneva's coat. But it had been transformed. Someone had carefully taken it apart and created two new items. A beautiful christening gown for the baby and a wedding veil for Ramona, both made from the coat's fabric. I found a seamstress who specializes in repurposing heirloom garments, Dorothy explained. I thought this way your mother's coat could be part of both the wedding and the baby's welcome into the world. Ramona held the veil and the gown, crying too hard to speak. This coat had saved Isabella's life, had brought Vincent and Ramona together, and now it would be present at the two most important moments of their new life. Your mother is with you, Dorothy said softly. She's been with you through all of this. On the morning of the wedding, Ramona woke to sunshine streaming through the windows. She was nervous and excited, her stomach full of butterflies that had nothing to do with the baby kicking inside her. Patricia arrived early to help her get ready. She and Ramona had become close over the past months, bound by their shared love for Vincent and Isabella and their determination to protect the family. You look beautiful, Patricia said as she helped Ramona into her wedding dress. It was simple and elegant, white silk that flowed over her pregnant belly. With her mother's veil in place, Ramona looked radiant. Isabella burst into the room, wearing a green bridesmaid dress she had picked out herself. Wow, she breathed. You look like a princess. A very pregnant princess, Ramona said laughing. The best kind. The ceremony was small and intimate. 50 guests sat in white chairs in the backyard. Dorothy, Crystal and other residents from Geneva House, Vincent's business partners, Isabella's art teacher, Patricia and her family. Everyone who mattered was there. Vincent stood under an arch covered in flowers, wearing a gray suit. When he saw Ramona walking down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears. She was so beautiful, so alive, so different from the dying woman he had found in his office building 14 months ago. Isabella walked beside Ramona, giving her away. It felt right, this girl who had brought them together now joining them in marriage. The officiant spoke about love and second chances, about how tragedy can lead to unexpected blessings, about the courage it takes to open your heart again after loss. When it was time for vows, Vincent went first. Ramona, 13 months ago you gave your coat to my daughter without hesitation. You chose her life over your own. That act of love brought you into our lives and I am grateful every single day. You have taught me about courage, about kindness, about what really matters in this world. You have made me a better man and a better father. You have given me a reason to hope again, to believe in love again. I promise to honor your sacrifice every day of our lives. I promise to support your dreams and celebrate your victories. I promise to build a family with you based on the same love and kindness you showed Isabella that freezing night. I love you, Ramona. I will love you forever. Ramona was crying too hard to speak at first. Vincent handed her a tissue and everyone laughed through their own tears. Vincent, Ramona finally managed. I spent 13 years believing I didn't matter, that my life had no value. I survived but I didn't live. And then one night I met a child who was freezing, and I gave her the only valuable thing I owned. That choice led me to you, to Isabella, to this life I never thought I could have. You showed me that I deserved happiness, that my past didn't define my future. You gave me a home, a family, a purpose. You loved me when I couldn't love myself. I promised to spend the rest of my life showing you that your faith in me was justified. I promised to be the best partner I can be. I promised to build a life full of love and hope with you. I promised to teach our children about kindness and courage. I love you, Vincent. I will love you forever. They exchanged rings, simple platinum bands. The officiant pronounced them married, and Vincent kissed Ramona gently, his hand resting on her belly where their baby kicked. We're married, Ramona whispered. We're married, Vincent agreed. The reception was joyful. They ate and danced and laughed. Isabella gave a toast that made everyone cry. Ramona came into our lives when we needed her most, Isabella said. She saved my life that night on the street. But she didn't stop there. She saved my dad's life too by showing him how to be happy again. And she saved herself by being brave enough to accept help, to accept love. Now she's my mom officially and forever. And I'm so grateful for her. Welcome to the family, Mom. Ramona stood up, carefully because of her large belly, and hugged Isabella tight. Thank you for being the best daughter anyone could ask for. Dorothy gave a toast too. I've known Ramona since her darkest days. I watched her struggle and survive. I watched her give to others even when she had nothing. I watched her refuse to become bitter or angry despite everything life threw at her. And now I get to watch her thrive. This is what happens when kindness is rewarded properly. This is what happens when love wins. Congratulations to both of you. As the sun set and the party continued, Vincent pulled Ramona aside for a quiet moment. "Are you happy?" he asked. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Ramona said. "I keep thinking about that night, about standing in the freezing cold, making the choice to give Isabella my coat. If someone had told me then that this would be my life a year later, I never would have believed it. I'm glad you made that choice." "Me too. Even if it had cost me everything, even if I had died that night, it still would have been worth it. Because saving Isabella was the right thing to do. And knowing that I did one purely good thing in my life, that would have been enough. But you got so much more than that." "I did. I got everything." Ramona looked around at the celebration, at the people who had come to support them, at the home they had built together. "I got a family. I got love. I got a second chance at life." "We got a second chance," Vincent corrected. "Both of us." 2 weeks after the wedding, on a warm June morning, Ramona went into labor. It happened fast, too fast for them to be nervous or scared. Vincent drove her to the hospital while Isabella called Patricia to let her know. 8 hours later, their son was born. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, with a healthy cry and a full head of dark hair. They named him Gabriel, which meant messenger of hope. "He's perfect," Ramona said, holding him for the first time. She wore the christening gown Dorothy had made from Geneva's coat, and Gabriel looked like an angel wrapped in his grandmother's love. Vincent sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders, looking down at their son with wonder. "He really is perfect." Isabella came in a few minutes later, cautiously excited. "Can I hold him?" "Of course." Ramona carefully transferred Gabriel into Isabella's arms, showing her how to support his head. Isabella stared down at her baby brother, completely mesmerized. "Hi, Gabriel. I'm your big sister. I've been waiting so long to meet you." Gabriel opened his eyes and seemed to look right at Isabella. She gasped. "He sees me. He knows me." "Of course he does," Vincent said. "He's been hearing your voice for months." They spent the first night in the hospital as a family, all 4 of them together. Isabella insisted on staying, sleeping in a chair beside Ramona's bed. Vincent dozed in another chair, waking every time Gabriel made the slightest sound. Ramona lay with Gabriel on her chest, feeling his heartbeat against hers, overwhelmed with love. Her mother would have been so proud. Her mother would have loved Vincent and Isabella and Gabriel so much. "Thank you, Mama," Ramona whispered into the darkness. "Thank you for teaching me about love. Thank you for the coat. Thank you for giving me the strength to survive long enough to find this family." She felt her mother's presence like a gentle warmth, like a blessing, like a coat wrapped around her shoulders on a freezing night. They took Gabriel home 3 days later. The house was filled with flowers and gifts from well-wishers. Geneva House residents had collected money to buy Gabriel a beautiful crib and changing table. Patricia had sent enough baby clothes for triplets. Dorothy had made a quilt from fabric scraps, each piece representing a different part of Ramona's journey from poverty to family. Life settled into a new rhythm. Exhausting, chaotic, beautiful. Gabriel was a good baby, sleeping in 3-hour stretches and eating well. Isabella was a devoted big sister, always wanting to help with feedings and diaper changes. Vincent learned to function on minimal sleep, stumbling through his days with spit up on his expensive suits and a goofy smile on his face. Ramona thrived. Motherhood came naturally to her, perhaps because she had survived so much that a crying baby seemed manageable in comparison. Or perhaps because she had so much love stored up inside her, 13 years of love with nowhere to go, and now she could pour it all into Gabriel. 3 months after Gabriel's birth, they held a christening ceremony. Gabriel wore the gown made from Geneva's coat, and Ramona wore a dress Dorothy had helped her choose, something bright and cheerful in her favorite shade of red. The ceremony was held at Geneva House, in the lobby where the painting of Ramona giving away her coat still hung. All the residents were there, along with family and friends. The officiant talked about hope and second chances, about how one act of kindness can ripple out to change multiple lives. "Ramona gave her coat to save a child," the officiant said. "That choice saved Isabella. But it also saved Vincent by bringing joy back into his life. It saved Ramona by leading her to a family. And now it has helped create Gabriel, a new life born from love and courage. That's the power of kindness. It multiplies. It grows. It creates miracles." After the ceremony, Ramona stood in front of the painting with Gabriel in her arms. Vincent and Isabella stood beside her. Crystal took their photo, all 4 of them together in front of the image of Ramona's sacrifice. "This is where it all started," Ramona said softly. "This moment, this choice." "No," Vincent said. "It started before that. It started with your mother making that coat. It started with her teaching you about love and kindness. It started with every choice you made to stay human despite years of inhumane circumstances. It started with hope, Isabella added, with believing that tomorrow could be better. They stood together, a family built from the ruins of loss, strong and whole and permanent. Outside, spring rain fell gently, nourishing the earth, preparing for new growth. 5 years later. Gabriel was 5 years old, running through the backyard of their home with his older sister Isabella chasing him. Isabella was 17 now, preparing for college, planning to study art and social work. She wanted to work with Geneva House after graduation, to help women the way Ramona had helped so many. Vincent and Ramona sat on the porch watching their children play. Ramona's hand rested on her belly, where another baby was growing, a little girl they planned to name Geneva. "I can't believe it's been 6 years since that night," Ramona said. 6 years since I gave away my coat." "Best decision you ever made," Vincent said. "Best decision we ever made," Ramona corrected. "You could have taken your daughter home that night and never looked back. You could have sent me a thank you check and moved on with your life. But you searched for me. You refused to give up. You changed my life. We changed each other's lives." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to Gabriel's laughter, watching Isabella catch him and swing him around. Geneva House had expanded to 5 locations now, helping hundreds of women each year. Crystal ran the original location, having gotten her college degree and social work license. Other graduates of the program worked throughout the organization, proof that transformation was possible. Ramona still visited Geneva House regularly, though she had stepped back from day-to-day operations to focus on her family. She gave talks to the residents, sharing her story, offering hope. "I was where you are," she would tell them. "Hungry, cold, alone, believing I didn't matter. But I did matter. You matter. Your life has value. Your future can be different from your past. Don't give up. Don't stop fighting. Kindness and hope will lead you home." And she was living proof. From freezing on the streets to a home full of love. From believing she would die alone to having a husband, children, a family. From surviving to thriving. That night, after the children were in bed, Vincent and Ramona stood in Gabriel's room, looking down at their sleeping son. He clutched a small stuffed animal, peaceful and safe and loved. "Do you ever wonder what your mother would think?" Vincent asked quietly. "If she could see you now?" "I think she knows," Ramona said. "I think she's been watching all along. I think she's proud. I know I'm proud. Of you, of us, of what we've built together." Ramona leaned against him. "Remember when Isabella asked me what I would have done differently that night, if I had known what was coming? If I had known that giving away my coat would lead to all of this? What did you tell her?" "I said I wouldn't change a thing. Not the cold, not the suffering, not any of it. Because it all led here. To you. To our family. To this life." She paused. "And I meant it. I would make the same choice 1,000 times over." "So would I," Vincent said. "I would search for you 1,000 times. I would find you every time. Because this, right here, this family, this love, this is everything." They walked out of Gabriel's room and down the hall to check on Isabella. She was still awake, working on a painting for her college applications. It was a portrait of her family, Vincent, Ramona, Gabriel, and a shadowy figure in the background that looked like it was made of light. "Who's that?" Ramona asked, pointing to the figure. "You don't recognize her?" Isabella asked. "It's your mother. I figured she should be in the family portrait too. After all, if she hadn't taught you about love, if she hadn't made that coat, none of us would be here." Ramona's eyes filled with tears. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. It's the truth," Isabella said. "Our family didn't start with Dad finding you in the office. It didn't even start with you giving me the coat. It started with a woman teaching her daughter that love matters more than anything. It started with hope." That night, lying in bed next to Vincent, Ramona thought about the journey that had brought her here. From poverty to family. From despair to hope. From dying on the streets to building a life full of love. "Vincent," she whispered in the darkness. "Yeah. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for searching until you found me. Thank you for seeing past what I was to what I could become. Thank you for being brave enough to give away your coat," Vincent replied. "Thank you for choosing love over survival. Thank you for accepting my help. Thank you for building this life with me. I love you. I love you too. Always." Outside, snow had started falling, soft and gentle. But inside their home was warm. Their children were safe. Their family was whole. And somewhere, perhaps, Geneva, Washington was smiling, proud of the daughter who had learned her lessons so well, who had carried love through the darkest times and emerged into the light. Kindness had led them home. Hope had given them a future. Love had made them a family. And that was everything.